Let's talk a little bit about the soul. So, from what I understand, the soul is something that is basically your mind, but it's the part of you, your mind, which I guess a lot of people seem to lean in the direction of it being like the best possible you, the most good and holy of your essence, is what transfers into the afterlife. One of the hardest things to have to deal with being an atheist is to accept that when you die, you're dead, and that everybody you've ever known, that you've cared about, that you've lost to passing away, is gone for good, and you will never see them again, ever. That's a very sobering and difficult thought. And it takes some adjusting, some living of life and accepting. There's a measure of acceptance that one needs to have to accept this. I don't know of a better word of it, that you basically just have to put on your shades and deal with it. And that seems really cruel and harsh and not nuanced or artful. It's very brutal, as most facts are. And the reason why I came to this conclusion is there's simply no reason to believe that the soul exists in the same way that there's no reason to believe that God exists. And there's the same level of inconsistency. Does what has a soul? Does an ant have a soul? Should I consider myself committing murder if I step on a bug? Do I get to see my pets in heaven because they exhibit some kinds of consciousness and personality? Does a tree have a soul, a blade of grass? Am I committing mass genocide when I mow the lawn? These inconsistencies don't work in a skeptical mind, and that everything in this skeptical mind is the product of chemical reactions, neurons firing electricity brainwaves, and that these can be manipulated and altered by drugs, by stimulus with electrodes. There are people who suffer brain damage and forget who they are, forget what they are. There's examples of gay dudes who undergo brain surgery and all of a sudden they come out of that operating room straight. I mean, everything you are is not safe. You could lose it all, either through death or through injury. And that's not fun to think about either. It's horrifying. And that's, I think, one of the main reasons why religion is clung to, is because I've had to deal with the term meaning before. People crave meaning. And it's not just that they crave meaning, no, they crave justice. Justice is the proper word for the term, not meaning. People want the bad to suffer, the good to triumph, and they want a guarantee. And that is the hook and sail of religion, the guarantee that the bad suffer, that the good prosper, and that there is a winning team that you can join. And team mechanics goes way into game theory and everything. I mean, there's everything psychologically compelling and attractive and addictive to religion, and it plays at the baser and least civilized parts of the human mind. The desire for guarantee, for safety, for comfort, for justice, for triumph, for success. These are powerful evolutionary drives. And the reason why the belief in the soul and the afterlife, in the metaphysical and the supernatural, are the last things to go as somebody makes that transition to atheism, is because those are the things we most want to keep. Savagely, desperately, violently want to keep. We need these guarantees. Every horrible thing that's happened to you in your life, if you're a religious person, you need that eternal justice to justify how you suffered, and that the people who wronged you will pay. And the thing is, bad guys do get away. all the time, and innocent people die. And part of what I have to sometimes do on a day basis in replacement of that former spiritual behavior set I used to have is to look out at the world around, and look at the moon out there and the palm trees, and breathe the air and realize that I'm in a snow globe that is hurtling through space at, what is it, 93,000 miles an hour, circling a giant nuclear reacting molten lava ball out in the boondocks, the nowhere, the Everglades of the galaxy. And that's cool. And sometimes I have to let myself be a little bit selfish, but in a different way than a religious person is selfish with their need for the soul and for God's love and justice. I have to think about all I know about human history and about life and about the fact that I do only have one life and one chance, and that I get to realize that I'm a white middle-class American millennial, and that I live with the luxury of kings. There are kings of history that have not tasted what I've tasted and felt what I've felt and done what I've done. I've flown through the air. I've swam through the sea. I've made worlds in a computer, and had all that power with none of the consequence, and I've learned the truth, and that is worth being grateful for. And now is the best time that we know of to be alive, because humanity is not spiraling towards this destruction, this end times. There's actually less violence and war in the world right now than there has been in recorded history. As bad as it looks, it's just because that's all the media is showing me. The world is on the uptick. The population has exploded due to life expectancy shooting through the roof and healthcare and everything. It wasn't all that long ago that there was way less than 2 billion people in the world. And it's fun to think about. At some point, I think it was maybe 90,000 years ago or something, or it might have been a lot more recent than that. I don't remember what the statistic was, but there was, while the human race was still in Africa and still finishing evolving, there was a catastrophe, a worldwide extinction effect that biologists think bottlenecked the human species down to only 10,000 breeding pairs. And now there are 7 billion people in the modern world. It's an amazing story. And it's sobering, and it's scary, and it's awesome, and it's powerful, and it's worth more to me than Christianity ever was. Thanks for watching.